Today I'm going to show you how to make a watercolor test strip using warm and cool colors. So first off, on the back, I'm always going to put my name and teacher's name in pencil. Then on the front, I'm going to use a Sharpie to divide my test strip in about close to half. And on one side, I'm going to write cool colors. And on the other side, I'm going to write warm colors. Okay, I'm now done with the Sharpie. I'm going to close it all the way, put it back. And then I'm going to use a pencil to divide each of these sections into two more sections. So I'm going to put a line right in the middle of this section and a line right in the middle of this section. Okay, so I now have 4 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 for cool, 2 for warm. Okay, I'm now ready to start painting. I'm going to start with my cool colors and work my way over then to the warm. So the cool colors are purples, green, and blue. On this palette, I have 2 purples, 1 green, 1 blue. Okay, on one of my sections, I'm going to show one type of pattern or texture that you can make with watercolors, and then I'll do a different one in each of these sections. Okay, so I'm going to start with the cool colors over here, the first section. I just wet my brush and I'm going to dip into my first color. Okay, and I'm going to do, for this one, I'm going to do crisscrossing lines. So I'm going to do lines going across my paper like this. In one color. And then now that I want to swap colors, I want to go to blue, but I've got a lot of green in my brush. So I have to dab my brush at the bottom of my water cup lightly. Wipe it off a little bit here on the edge so it's not dripping all over the place. I'm then going to go right into my blue. And maybe this time, instead of going left to right, I'm going to go up and down some vertical strokes. It's up to you on what type of pattern you want. Cleaning it out again because I'd like to add some purple to this. Wiping it off ever so slightly. I'm going to go in with my purple. If you do not clean out your brush in between color changes, you will end up mixing colors on here, and then it will ruin other people's colors on their projects. So make sure you're always washing out your brush in between each color change. So maybe then I want to add a little bit of some purple. And there I've got one type of texture. Now with watercolor, the more water that you add, the lighter the colors you're going to get. So those colors are really dark, but I might want to make it a little bit more pastel. So I can clean out my brush so that I have no paint in here, and I've wiped it out so that there's not too much water. And I can then pick up some of this paint and move it around while it's still wet. Clean it out again because now I have more paint in there. And it kind of lightens it up and blends it all together. Okay, so it's really just up to you on what you're wanting. I'm showing you guys multiple things so that you guys have more choices for your project. So over here, I'm going to show you the same colors, cool colors, my purples, green, and blues, but I'm going to show a different type of method. I'm going to show more of like a blotty method. So I might start with blue this time. I washed out my brush, and instead of doing the lines, I could just kind of do some blots. And I'm lightly doing this on my paper. I'm not doing it really hard. You want to be nice to the brushes. The bristles want to be soft. And if you push really hard, you're going to destroy the bristles and the glue that's holding all these bristles. Okay, now I just washed out my brush, so now I could go maybe for some green. I'm trying to fill in some white spaces because on our project, we're going to have to fill in the whole space of the background with watercolor. And then maybe I want to go in with some purple. So that kind of has a different effect than the first effect does. And again, if you just add water, you can add some lighter parts to your painting and kind of mix it up. If you have any large pools of paint, drying your paintbrush off can help. A more dry paintbrush, I kind of wiped the water off, can pick up some paint. So if you got a large glob of paint, maybe one that you don't want there, or it's having trouble drying, or it's about to run off the edge of the paper like this one is, I might rub, just using my fingers to kind of like take out some of that paint, and then I can pick up the wet paint. And this only works when it's wet. That's a good way to kind of make it lighter as well. So I'm going to show that again, wiping out the water so that there's less water in here, and I then am picking up the wet paint. Okay, moving on to warm colors. Washing out my brush, tapping it lightly at the bottom, then wiping it off the edge so that I get any leftover paint drips, water drips. Okay, and for the warm colors, I'm going to start with the red. Okay, and maybe this time I want to do swirls, maybe. Okay, you can kind of come up with whatever patterns you want. So now I just did my red. Washing it out again, wiping it off so that it doesn't drip everywhere when I go from my water cup to my paper, or it doesn't get on the table. Now maybe I go for orange. Washing it out, wiping it off. Maybe I go for some yellow. You can tell the yellow is a lighter color. It's not as strong as the red and orange. So I'm going to come in and add a little extra yellow. Okay, so you can fill it in like that with some swirls. Sometimes too, if you just take water drops, you can create some interesting effects as well. So I just created that, kind of swirled it a little bit extra by tapping my brush to get some plain water drips down. And maybe for the last one I'm cleaning out my brush, wipe it off. Maybe for my last section, I can do a blend. So maybe I just want to do a blend from red to orange to yellow, almost like a sunset. So maybe up here, I start with red. And I just keep going up and up and up and up until about halfway. And then I clean out my brush and I start with the orange. And I let some of my orange overlap into my red and go down. And then I'm leaving space for my last color, my yellow. And yellow, I can start down here and bring my yellow up into my orange. So now I have a blend, almost like a sunset, from red, orange, yellow. You can do any of these textures with any of your colors. as long as like you could do the blend with the cool, or you could do the blotches with the warm, or the swirl with the cool. You can decide what texture you want to do for your background, as well as if you want to do warm colors or cool colors. It has to be all warm or all cool. And this would now be ready for the drying rack to make sure it dries. Yeah, that's it.